Josh with Territorial Seed Company, and hopefully if you've watched our other video about seed starting, you now have a bevy of seedlings growing. And what I thought I would talk about today is what to do once you do have your seedlings and how to take care of them to ensure that you're going to have really nice, healthy plants by the time you put them out into the garden. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is thinning out your plants. What I have here is a flat of lettuce from my trial seeding. And it's one of the things that people who love plants hate doing the most, and that's thinning out their plants, because basically you could be chopping some off and putting them into the compost bin. You have to remember, though, that each one of these cells that you plant in doesn't have too much soil in it. And so once these plants sprout up and start growing, they're going to start competing. The roots are going to start spreading into each other, and they're going to be competing for not only water, but for nutrients as well. So it's important to thin your plants. And there's several different ways of doing it, but quite honestly, the easiest way that I find is using a pair of scissors and just snipping off all but one per cell. You can certainly leave two in if you want. You also can pull out the plants if you want to pot them up somewhere else and give them to a neighbor. You can certainly do that too. But it really helps to get these seedlings started and continuing to grow as they're in the cell if you thin them out. So now that we've talked about thinning your seedlings out, the next thing that I want to talk about is feeding your seedlings or fertilizing them. What I like to use is a liquid grow formula. This happens to be earth juice. It's an all-natural product, and it does a really good job of getting the plants off to a nice start. It has a little bit higher amount of nitrogen in it, and so that really helps promote the green growth of the plants as well as some of the root development too. So, the Earth Juice Grow formula happens to have instructions on the back for a mild dilution. If your fertilizer that you're using does not, I would recommend doing a quarter to a half of what they recommend on the back for a normal strength mixing of it. And so all I'm going to do for this, for a mild one, it says a half a tablespoon per gallon. This is a half-gallon water sprayer. I really like using the water sprayer because these seedlings are young. You don't want to disrupt them too much with a heavy spray of something or a watering can. And so I like using this instead. So all I'm going to do, I already have the water in here. I'm just going to take the lid off and put in, since it says a half a tablespoon, I'm only going to want a quarter tablespoon since this is only a half gallon. Okay. Put the lid back on. And then mix it up a little so that it gets nice and evenly dispersed. Do the pumping. And then I'm going to spray. And I'm going to get the soil nice and saturated because, keeping in mind, there's holes in the bottom, and so if there's excess moisture, it'll just flow right through. Now that I've fertilized, and this is whether I fertilize or whether I just use water, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hand and lightly brush the water droplets off the leaves. Now, there's two reasons that I do this. First of all, that means if I get it under light again, the leaves won't burn with the water droplets on it. But quite honestly, the main reason why I'm doing it is because I'm kind of imitating nature in wind. And, you know, if these seedlings were outside and the wind were blowing, it would also be swaying back and forth. And consequently, what can happen is the stems will get nice and strong, again, with the goal of getting your plants nice and ready to go into the ground when it's time to plant them. Lastly, I want to talk about lighting. And if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Unless you live in a region that gets a lot of sun in the springtime and you have a very good south-facing window, I really recommend using some sort of supplemental light to get your seedlings off to a great start indoors. It does not mean that you need to buy some crazy fancy light system that you need to be a rocket scientist in order to figure out. Actually, one of the newest products that we're offering is called the Jumpstart Grow System, and I love this because, first of all, it's super easy to use, very unobtrusive, and it's also relatively inexpensive. And the thing that is really nice about this one, you plug it in, and then you can adjust the height of the fixture, and you want to keep the fixture really close to the plants. It's important to keep the light close to the plants because these aren't very high watt bulbs, and so you're not going to burn the plants, and you're going to get the amount of light that it needs. The other thing that I really recommend is keeping the light on for 12 to 16 hours a day. So by taking care of your seedlings while they're indoors and getting the plants as healthy as possible by the time that they get planted outdoors, you're going to ensure highly successful, high-yielding vegetables, flowers, and herbs in your garden. That's it for this time, and until next time, I'm Josh Kirschenbaum with Territorial Seed Company.